Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about how I did this, or how I made this albino flying fox commission. It was originally going to be part of the flying fox release that I'm going to be doing soon, but I hijacked the doll that I was doing. So this was the original head. I was just going to do a white one. So I hijacked the head and also hijacked the feet, and yeah, made it into this albino commission just to get the commissions done. So with this last commission, I'm free. I'm free of commissions and orders and stuff, so I can focus on doing my other things. But yeah, so this little one has a ball and socket armature inside, and the wings have a wire armature inside. So it is posable, and yeah, so this is what it looks like, he or she. And yeah, if you want to know how I made him, then keep watching. Okay, so starting off with a resin cast again of a sculpture that I did out of monster clay, cast it in resin, molded it in silicone and then cast it in resin. So basically resin is like a type of plastic kind of, and I use it for most of my dolls. I find it a bit stronger than polymer clay, and I'm able to reproduce something that I've sculpted. So once it's at this stage, I want to start painting all the areas that are going to be exposed. So before I paint all my surfaces, I usually prime it. I use a primer from Matisse, and it's just a canvas primer. It's nothing special, but you can use stuff like automotive primers or different types of paint that have a good tooth on it. And that way the paint can stick to like smoother surfaces, and including resins and polymer clay. Just always test out how your paint reacts to surfaces first before you start doing anything. So for this one, as I'm making an albino bat, I'm going to be painting the surfaces a pink color, and I'm going to be doing the eyes a red color. So the pink color is by the brand Matisse as well, and it's everything I'm using is an acrylic water-based paint. So there's no solvent paints that I'm using on these ones. And the red paint, I really like this colored paint. It works really well for albino pupils. It's a good color. It's a cool red color by the brand Acryl, and it's a little bit transparent, so you will need to do a couple of layers if you get your hands on these paints, but I think it gives a good albino eye color. And then I'm just colouring it in the pupil of the bat with another slightly different coloured red colour by, again, the brand Matisse, and it's very similar to the red that's already on there. It's just a slight deeper, more orangey tone to it, and you can slightly see it over the iris colour. So once that's done, I leave that to dry on the side, and I can start working on the feet. So same deal with the feet really. I'm doing a different type of colour here. So I'm going to be doing the base coat with this pink colour, the same colour that I used for the head, and then I'm going to be doing a dry brush over the top with a white colour. The thing with red toned colours is it bleeds through very easily with lighter colours, so always keep that in mind and do a little test if you're going to do something like this. So red tones seem to, especially in white colours, seem to seep through into the white colouring. So if you want to do a really light pink colour, I'd recommend actually mixing it with white to begin with, and only a very, very small amount of either the red or the pinks that you're using, because it is quite strong, and like I said, it does bleed through. But for this one, I'm just doing a I don't mind the bleed through on this one, so I'm just doing a dry brush over the top with that white colouring, also from the brand Acryl. It's nice thick white paint as well. So this is basically the difference that you get with that dry brush. You can see the pink is quite a bit more muted than what it was. So that's exactly what I was looking for. I didn't want that really stark pink colour. So for the nails, I'm going to be just adding a little bit of colour to the base of the nails, and I'm using this raw umber colour by Acryl again. And I'm just painting the base of the nail, and it's just sort of making it a little bit dirtier towards the nail bed. So once it's done, move it over to dry overnight to make sure it's properly cured, and then I can start working on the body of the faux fur. So for this one, I'm doing two different types of faux fur. I'm going to be doing a ruff around the neck in a same white color, but it's going to have little brown tips on the end of the pile, and I thought that would be a good contrast to a all white flying fox. So I'm just marking out the patterns for the neck area. I'm going to cut them out, and also doing the body in a white color, just a solid white color. The pile is exactly the same, so marking out the rest of the pattern with just some little pencil or something. Don't use anything too stark with white colors or light coloring, because it can bleed through when you attach all of your pieces. So just keep that in mind before you start using any harsh colors on your marking out. So basically this is what we've got. I need to cut all of these out now. So I use a small pair of sharp scissors to cut out all of my body patterns, and that way I can feed the scissors in between the pile and the backing of the fur, and I can only cut the backing of it. So you want to not cut the pile, because it ends up cutting all of those details out off the little strands of the faux fur. So that's why I like to use small scissors. It's really easy to control, and you can feed it in between. It's not a huge thing to manage, so I always like to use smaller scissors. You can try a blade or anything like that, but I probably wouldn't recommend that, or any bigger scissors as well, because it's I guess you will cut the pile is a lot easier to cut. So for the body, I'm going to be sewing some of it up on the sewing machine. So basically I'm only sewing the bits in between the leg and one side of the neck area, because I need to feed those wings through. I have a wing tutorial. It's a really basic one, my first wing tutorial. It's over on my Patreon if you want to see that process. I am working on a more detailed version, but that's coming up I guess in the next few months or weeks. Just depends when I get around to it, but I am working on a new one. But if you want to check out how I did my first experiment with these wings, you can find it on my Patreon for my $5 and up tiers. You get access to it straight away, and you can learn how I did it. So that whole process is over there, but I'm using a wire armature for the wings and a ball and socket armature for the body. And I used the wire armature for the wings because it's a nice clean armature, rather than the ball and socket have little bumps on it. So you wouldn't achieve this nice clean symmetry with using ball and socket armature with with the wings. So once that's done, I can feed it in between that body that I'd sewn up before, and that's why I've left a really big hole, so I can feed those wings in between, and then attach the head to the faux fur. That's the first thing that I do, so it's a nice solid base, and I can start sewing everything up and inserting any of the polyfill that I want to insert. So there's there's a lot of hand sewing these dolls, so there's 4 sides to sew up. So I start sewing up one side, which is usually the back side, and then I sew up one more side, and I can start adding the polyfill and then closing everything up. So just a little snippet of, again, making the wings. Again, it can be found over on my Patreon, but it's a little bit of a process to create the wings, especially the movable nail bit here. And I'm just finishing off the painting with these and adding that same little detail that I added for the nails for the feet, and then I can start closing the wings up. So for the colour of these wings, it's really a simple process to get a really muted, easy pastel-y colour for the wings. So I basically wanted the structure of the wings to be pink. So what I'm doing here is, I thought paint would be a bit too harsh for this one, and it wasn't really the texture that I was going for on these wings. So I decided to use just some dry pastel, and just brush on any of the little details that I want to highlight. So it's basically the bone structure that I wanted to highlight on this albino flying fox. So I'm being very careful not to put too much pastel on the white fabric, because it will be impossible to get off. So I'm just making sure that I'm getting a really even tone on the structure, and just pulling out tiny bits of that pastel to blend into the white fabric. So that's pretty much it for this process. If it helped you, let me know. If you make anything on using this tutorial, tag me on Instagram so I can see it. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. I really appreciate it. I have a slash casting tutorial coming up this month, as well as this whole bat shop update. So you can check it out. Link is in the description. The shop at creaturesofnat.com, and you can check me out on Instagram, Facebook, Creatures of Nat, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.